Listen, it does not need to be a new year, a new you. It just needs to be a new year, a healthier you. Because sure, okay, they trying to take us down at every front. So get some TLC products and up that metabolism and up that energy and up that immune system, okay, that digestive system. Get that all together with these TLC products right here. And don't forget, okay, sign up for ifyoucanmove.com and become a part of the online gym and shed the pounds, honey. We're starting a new challenge on January 3rd, and I would love to see y'all there. Get the links down below. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Bondi Blue, and I am back for another Lovecraft Country review, you guys. We are about to talk about my favorite episode of Lovecraft Country, which was episode 7, Hippolyta's episode, I Am. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into my notes. So, Hippolyta and Dee set out for answers this episode to find out what happened to Uncle George. She does not believe that the sheriff shot Uncle George in that hick town, and that's just what it is. She's not taking that for an answer any longer, and she wants answers. So she and Dee first go back to Mayfield, to the rubble from the Sons of Adam Lounge. Y'all know it burned down. So they go back and she kind of looks through all of the wreckage and she finds a piece from Dee's comic, okay, Aridia Blue. Then we see Hippolyta studying the Ori, okay, trying to figure out how to turn the Ori on. She couldn't figure it out at first, knocks the shit over, lays down, is racking her brain, and then realizes that the moons or suns that are surrounding, you know, the planets in the Ori need to be tilted on their axis. So when she tilts them, then that opens the mechanism and the Ori opens up and gives out a key. And it's a key to a time machine, you guys. You can call it whatever you want. It's a time machine. Ruby is also looking for answers from Christina now that she realizes that Christina and William are one and the same. So she takes her down to the basement. She's been asking about this damn basement the entire time. Why is it the only room locked in this house? Okay. They go down there and there are 2 dead bodies. One is of the real William, his dead body, and the other dead body is of the woman who was like the sheriff in Mayfield who they killed. Y'all remember that? It was her body there. And y'all remember that Ruby turns into her when she turns into a white woman. And we had seen her before. She had the dogs and she was the one that was keeping Montrose in that cell. Y'all remember? Okay. Christina tells her that she used their blood to make the potions in order for them to like shapeshift into each person. And it seems as if Christina was in some form of relationship with William when he was killed. She explains the whole Sons of Adam situation, you know, how they wouldn't let me play with the magic story, wham, 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 white woman tears, you know. Ruby feels betrayed, okay, especially because she's been hunching Christina as William. So she definitely feels some type of way about finding out that William is not really William. Christina tells Ruby that she meant everything that came out of William's mouth, okay? It may not have been her saying it, but it was her words. So now we're about to see a shift in the relationship. And I love this dynamic because I feel like it is definitely what it feels like to be bisexual, where you really are attracted to the person. And if they were a woman or a man, you would still be attracted to them. Like, it's a weird thing. Like, that's what it makes me think about. Like, as a bisexual woman, how I feel about, you know, going through my relationships and being with men and then, you know, being with women. Like, I really do feel like I'm just attracted to whoever the person is. You know what I'm saying? And their rapping matters, but not as much as who they are on the inside. Like, people say that, but that's the truth of the matter. A person's swag, their attitude, their je ne sais quoi, all of that is their spirit. That is what, you know, you find yourself attracted to mostly, because there have been beautiful people who have nothing going on up here or in here, and that's not attractive to me. So the fact that there's a shift and they still somehow maintain a romantic relationship with one another, as they are, as Ruby being a black woman and Christina being a white woman, that kind of blew my mind. I'm not even gonna lie. I thought that Ruby was gonna be like, you know, I ain't no lesbian or some shit like that. But the truth of the matter is, her finding out that William was really Christina caused a rift, but it did not like change the relationship entirely the way I thought it would. Ruby wants the truth. okay? And it almost seems like in order for me to stay here, I need you to be 100% honest with me. So I obviously want to stay here, okay? And it's not just about the magic either, as far as I'm concerned. Like, it is about the magic. That is what's being offered, but I think it's more than that. But ultimately, for a Black woman like Ruby, Christina, William, the magic, it's all a means to an end. Some type of autonomy, some type of freedom in being a Black person during this time period, or a Black person period who doesn't have agency and would love to have power over their lives, and they just feel so out of control of it. Christina tells her it's all about the book of names and, you know, their families and how the families are connected. Okay, because we know that Ruby is not, you know, related to Tick, but through Letty's baby they are. Okay, which also makes Christina related to Ruby through the kid, because Christina and Tick are related. Okay, child, too much. Anyway, so then we see Letty. Letty is having a dream similar to the dream that Tick keeps having, running out of the burning LASHAE with the ancestor Hannah running ahead, okay? And this time Hannah is pregnant and she's holding a book. And I think this is the point where we realize that Letty is pregnant as well, okay? But the dream obviously meant something. So she goes downstairs to find Tick, still looking over the pages that they do have. And she tells Tick about the dream. And he says, I had that exact same dream. You know, she must be trying to tell us something. We have to think about what the differences are. And Tick feels like it has to be a warning. Letty mentions that she was holding the book, and this is when Tick realizes that Hannah must have ran out of the house with the book of names. So they're thinking that the book has been destroyed inside the original fire in the lounge, but no, it seems as if Hannah got the book and got out. So that means that some of the ancestors that came after Hannah possibly could have a copy of the book. Let's move on to Montrose and Sammy. Montrose and Sammy had an amazing night down to the ball. Okay, they must have came home and made love and had an even better night. Okay, and Sammy is cooking Montrose breakfast the next morning, and when he says that he went down to the store because Montrose didn't have anything in his refrigerator, and he saw this woman with this beautiful scarf on, and he asked her where she got it. She said she got it from Marshall Fields, and he's like, I've never seen a Negro woman go in that store. So things are changing, times are changing. But the only thing that Montrose is worried about is who saw Sammy coming into his apartment. So worried that everybody is going to think he's gay. And it's like, newsflash, they already know. Tree know, so everybody already know. Okay, so what you think you hiding, I don't know. Montrose starts complaining about the food. The grits are too runny. The bacon is pork bacon and not beef bacon or some shit like that. Or the sausage isn't right. Like, I was just kind of like, oh, so now you're going to complain about the breakfast that I made because you don't want to deal with the fact that you're in the closet? Like, it's the 50s. We're all in the closet. Calm down. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the most part, people don't want their business out there. They don't want the ridicule. Everybody knows what Sammy is, but we're not going to talk about it. Sammy has had enough of this abuse, okay? I'm not going to be your whipping boy, so I'm about to go, all right? He's storming out, and Montrose goes to stop him. Mind you, Montrose is standing there with his shirt open. You know what I'm saying? And the way he grabbed Sammy's arm, you can just tell this was a lover's dispute. And so Letty and Tick are walking up just at this moment, and they see it. They see everything that's happening in this moment, and Sammy walks away, you know, kind of embarrassed, and Tick is standing there like, so it's true. You are. And I was just like, oh my God, he called this animal. Like, that was terrible, you guys. That shit hurt so bad. You could see the look on Montrose's face, like he was hurt, but he has to then, like, you know, boss up. Don't you ever call me out my name, boy. I'm your damn daddy. You know, they got to boss up on you and all of that. But the truth of the matter is, we've already seen that Tick could lay Montrose's ass out if he felt like it. So all of this big in the chest shit, you know, really is to no avail. Then he asks, did mama know? And he says, yes, you know, with this contempt. And Tick runs off. Letty is standing there, and he's like, what did y'all come here for? Like, just so hurt that Tick had to find out. You know, he really was trying to protect Tick from knowing that about him. Even though there was nothing he can do. Tick was already made aware by Tree messy ass. Okay, the first day he was back. So when Letty goes downstairs and Tick is pacing back and forth, so upset, He says, you know, he told me he had to beat me so I wouldn't be soft. And the most messed up part about all of this is that I thought he did it because he loved me. But now I realize he was beating me because he's trying to beat the gay out of himself. You know what I'm saying? And when you put that into perspective, that it's not about the kid being better off for getting their ass whipped, but it's about the parent trying to deal with their own issues through exacting the same type of torture that they went through on their child. Like, it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. It didn't make you straight that your dad beat you. So why do you think beating the shit out of, I guess because he felt like had he been allowed to be himself, he would have been softer. And this world needed him to be tough. So I think in one way, a lot of Black parents feel like that. It's better for my child to be out here tough and defensive and aware versus, and sometimes unaware, but still on guard, versus living their lives freely because then somebody can just come along and knock them upside the head. I understand that that's the mindset, but the world will teach your child that lesson. You don't need to be the one teaching your child that the world is fucked up. Just saying. That doesn't need to be you. You can tell them, you can show them in other ways, but the pain does not need to be at your hand, is what I'm saying. So y'all, Hippolyta is going on a trip, okay? She has figured out how to get the orrery open. She has a key, and now she's taking her car on a trip to figure out what the going on. All right, she leaves D with Ruby, and right before she leaves, Letty and Tick come walking up. Tick wants to take the car to St. Louis to see some of his mom's family members, or you know, the last people who knew the people on his mama's side of the family, to see if someone has the book of names. But Hippolyta says, catch the bus, I got my own trip, now back the hell up from this car. She meant that shit, okay? And Letty is reading the energy and knows that she obviously doesn't believe what they said about George's death. Letty decides to stay behind with Ruby because Tick was like, you need to deal with your sister. Y'all need to have a conversation. Your sister's still mad at you. Come to find out, Ruby moved out of the boarding house, didn't really say anything. We know she's been staying on the north side with Christina / William, but I didn't realize she had actually just moved out. But yeah, she's been staying there permanently. So Letty admits that she tried to hustle Ruby. And in that way, being very much like the mother that they hate. Okay? But she apologizes. And she says that she's sorry for trying to hustle Ruby and using her the way their mom did people all the time. And Ruby is sunbathing with her beautiful skin on the windowsill, just enjoying this sun, girl. I loved it. And she puts her sunshades back on and she says, well, I guess you're not that much like mama, because I ain't never heard mama apologize to anybody, you know? So obviously they're getting better. The conversation kind of lightened the load. Hippolyta is in her car, you guys, and she's listening to Josephine Baker. And it's so funny because, you guys, I don't know any Josephine Baker songs like by heart or by name. But when she was driving in that car, I automatically knew that she was listening to Josephine Baker, because I was like, that sounds like a Black woman. It sounds like French. Must be Josephine Baker. Like, like the deuce, okay? But there was a woman riding on a motorcycle right next to her, a Black woman on a motorcycle. And you guys, when I first watched this scene, I'm not going to lie, I had such fear that somebody was going to do something to them with the sundown towns, and just the feeling that women in general can't just be out alone without the protection of a man, because people will be looking to take advantage of that. When I saw her driving, it made me scared. I'm not gonna lie. But her singing and the music kind of made me change how I felt about the scene. And then we see Bessie Stringfield, which was the first Black woman to ride her motorcycle around the USA. Okay. And she rides up next to her on her blue motorcycle, you know, with her hair blowing in the wind. And she's like, hey, you know what I'm saying? So it was just a moment, you guys. It was just a really, really Black girl magic moment of two Black women at a time where women probably weren't even allowed to have their own bank accounts or some stupid shit. Like, you know, at this time period in the 50s, women definitely are still considered to be, you know, having babies and being wives. That's all you're good for in this time period. And to see these two women doing something on their own that they want to do, it was a moment and it was a testament to what the episode is about to be about, the foreshadowing of the deeper meaning, which is that women can be whatever they want to be, and they should. With all that said, Hippolyta rolls up to Mayfield, and she pulls up to this like large cellar like building. You know, it wasn't, because it looked like a barn from the outside, but it really had this huge, you know, mechanism inside, like just abandoned. The shot of the moon, though, you guys, when she gets out of the car and the moon is huge in the sky in this empty field with just this building, you know, standing there before her, I was just kind of like, wow, like that did something for me, you guys. But anyway, Tick gets to St. Louis to see Miss Oberta, okay? And Miss Oberta lived with Tick's cousin, Ethel, back in the day before cousin Ethel died, all right? They were good friends, and, you know, they both had lost their husbands. And one day, cousin Ethel decided that they weren't about to be two widows just withering away. So they moved in together, and she had a lot of cousin Ethel's things with her when Tick came to see her. And he asked her about the Book of Names. Miss Oberta says that everything, you know, burnt up. Then white folks burnt up everything in Tulsa. So the Book of Names was burnt up in Tulsa. We know that from this scene. Tick also was looking through like a picture book with a birthmark on somebody that seemed to match his own birthmark. And he was looking at the birthmark just as Miss Oberta received the phone call. So she went to go get the phone, and she come back, and, you know, he's looking at himself in a mirror, and she looked at him all weird. She's like, the phone for you, baby. Okay, and this is Letty calling, because Letty was enjoying her time with Ruby and the kids. And Letty asked Ruby where she's been staying, and she asked Letty about Tick and what he does since he doesn't work. And, you know, she's like, well, he does a lot around the house. And they giggle because it's like, yeah, he's tearing the pussy up, huh? And Ruby asked her to taste what she's cooking on the stove. And it has a lot of garlic in it, which makes Letty feel sick. And Letty has to go into the room and get some air. And it's when we realize for sure Letty's pregnant. And I think even Ruby said it. Ruby was like, you know, your ass probably pregnant. And yeah, her ass is pregnant. But when she went into the room to get some air and get away from the smell of the food, she saw the orrery. This is when she realizes that Hippolyta must have gotten the key from the orrery, and that's where she must be trying to find answers. Also, there are coordinates on the orrery as well, where the key came out, there are coordinates on it. So she called Tick. That was the phone call that Miss Oberta got. That was Letty calling to let Tick know that Hippolyta is in trouble. So Hippolyta is in what we now know is the Winthrop Conservatory, okay, based on my notes. And she starts trying to figure out the machine, how to turn it on. She hasn't figured it out yet. She has the key. She doesn't know where to put the key in, what to do. She starts finagling with things and figuring shit out. And eventually she gets that machine on. Two cops come in. I guess they are just surveying the area. I wasn't sure. But they find her and pull a gun on her. Just then, Atticus shows up, runs down some stairs, and kicks the shit out of one of the cops, knocking people out with no effort whatsoever. And Hippolyta ends up knocking the gun out of the cop's hand, and she gets the gun. This is when the time machine opens up and we start to see like these different flashes. And it must not be a time machine, but a machine that allows you to go to a different world, okay? Because from what the understanding is, there are a whole bunch of different worlds happening simultaneously, okay? And with that, this portal lets you go into different worlds, okay? So Tick knocks one of the police officers into the portal, and then Hippolyta ends up shooting one of the other ones dead. And at that moment, they're scared. They just killed a white person, a white police officer at that. So they hold hands, and the portal sucks Hippolyta in, leaving Tick there. So Hippolyta finds herself on what looks like another planet, and a large robot comes walking up on her, and then she blacks out, and then she wakes up naked with parts of her wrist cut out and replaced with some type of technology. Then a robot woman, because she was like part robot and part Afro. That's what they refer to her as in the description, I am. But she tells Hippolyta that she's not in prison, but she leaves Hippolyta locked in the room. And Hippolyta is trying to get out, trying to figure it out. So she starts going through shit in her head like she does, just thinking and running through ideas like she would with her dad. And eventually these plates start to, come apart, and she throws the plates up in the sky and then figures out how to open the door, like all kind of shit, right? In this time that she's locked into this room. And I.M. comes back with her afro and says, you are not being held captive, while simultaneously electrocuting her, trying to get her to stop from running. Like, I was so confused. But she tells her, name yourself. Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? Name yourself. At first Hippolyta is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Name myself. What you mean? You know what I'm saying? We don't know what the hell you mean, bitch. Talking about. But when she asks, where do you want to be? Hippolyta says, I want to be on stage dancing with Josephine Baker in Paris. And poof, she's in Paris dancing on stage with Josephine Baker and her dancers. She didn't know the choreography, Lord. She was in the way. Them dancers was some aggravated with her. And after, Josephine Baker has to come up to her and say, Cherie, okay, look, the steps. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, she is like just staring and amazed that she's actually in this place. All of a sudden, we see her getting into it. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? C'est why that's the song that plays. And we see Hippolyta become a part of Paris. Wherever she is and whatever time frame that she is now become a part of it. Okay, she's dancing, smoking weed, flirting with women, flirting with men. You know what I'm saying? In a den of iniquity, all right? Like on Bridgerton. Josephine comes up to her at the bar and tells her, I'm feeling like a star tonight. And she's like, you are a star. She was like, no, Shitty. Not like a movie star, but like a star in the sky, burning bright, but still already extinguished. And it gets them into this conversation about what it is like being a Black woman. And Hippolyta understands this feeling of experiencing freedom and what she was robbed of back in Chicago. She says, I thought I had everything I wanted. And I realized that I was the exact type of Negro woman that white folks wanted me to be. And it makes her angry. So angry to think that people had made her be happy with having absolutely nothing. She says it feels like they found another way to lynch me without me even knowing it. Y'all, this small portion of this episode, this conversation that they have, yeah, I think I cried the first 2 times I watched this episode, and I watched it twice before I even sat down to make notes to review it. You know what I'm saying? Over these past couple of weeks. And, well, a few months since it came out. And this is the part that will always get me, is the knowledge and the understanding that you can have more, but also having the knowledge and understanding that there are so many roadblocks put up against you. So many things that happened before you were even brought into this world that stop you from reaching your fullest potential. Men, racism, other women, whatever, but something always getting in the way. And it's infuriating. It's that quote, to be Black and conscious in America is to be in rage most of the time. I think that was James Baldwin who said that. I could be wrong because my memory is shit. But I do remember good quotes. And that quote always sticks with me because it's the truth. And in this moment, in all of this happiness, she realizes what her life could be versus what it has been and what she's accepted. And it makes her angry at herself too for allowing people to make her feel small. So Josephine asks her what she will do with all her anger. And then she screams, I am Hippolyta! And she screams, and it transports her to the Amazons, the African women Amazons training to fight. And the woman in charge, whose name I forgot to look up, but she's obviously the leader and the one that's trying to train Hippolyta as a fighter for battle. And you see them fight over and over again. Hippolyta, at first she's weak. She's not strong. And she keeps getting knocked down. But that anger, it fuels her. It fuels her. And eventually her whole energy and physicality changes to the physicality and strength and erectness. And I say that because it's also like in the body of a soldier. You know what I'm saying? Like, to watch it is really amazing, you guys. Oh my God, Aunjanue Ellis is just, oh my God, I love Aunjanue Ellis. Like, I love you, Aunjanue Ellis. I don't know if you know, but I want you to know, okay? The woman in charge was telling them that they are here because they know that men are trying to make them well-kept slaves. Okay, it was a long speech, but that was basically the understanding. Being women who understand that men are trying to make you feel bad for being. Just as they are allowed to be, just as they're allowed to have anger and fight their enemies and be passionate and have a range of emotions without being judged for it. I mean, in essence, men are judged for being what people consider soft, but I don't think it fits in the same way as the way women are controlled with everything that we do. But Hippolyta keeps fighting and getting stronger and stronger, and eventually she puts her leader on her knees. Then she bows to the queen, who then puts a warrior's crown on her head, and then the battle with white folks begins. Okay, it's a whole bunch of the women, not a lot, but a nice little bit of the women. But the white men, oh my God, it was like thousands of white men coming to fight these few Amazon soldiers. And they were slicing and dicing their asses up, okay? Like, it was amazing. It was, like, Sparta! Like, that's what it felt like, okay? And after they kill the first round of people, there are thousands more coming. But she gives a speech. She says, "We are here because we did not believe them when they told us that our rage wasn't ladylike." When she said that, I got chills. When she said that, y'all, that made me feel some type of way. My entire life, I have been told that I wasn't soft enough, that I wasn't dainty enough, that I wasn't quiet enough, that I was too this, that I was too that. This speech, I felt this shit in my spirit, y'all. Okay? She says, "We did not believe them when they said our violence goes too far and our hatred for our enemies is ungodly." Like, we have a right to fight and to kill those who try to harm us. We have a right to defend ourselves. We have a right to be whoever we are, which is why this whole episode is about Hippolyta naming herself. I honestly feel like the shit will change your life in a way, watching the way it changed her life. Because it makes you realize that you really do have agency over yourself. But the mind fuck is making you believe that you don't. Like she said, it's just like putting a noose around your neck, but you can't see it. But it's being done anyway. So just as the white men are coming in to kill everybody, she names herself Hippolyta, George's wife. And just like that, she's warm, safe, and in bed with George. And George is alive, and she's telling him how she thought it was a spaceship, but it wasn't a spaceship or another planet. It was some other scientific theory that they had about the different worlds and the equations and all of the shit that, I'm too dumb to understand. But she explains it to him, where she's been and what she's seen. And he asks if it's real, because he's supposed to be dead. And she's like, "I don't know, but it feels real." And she lays down and he kisses her and he says, "After all your travels, you named yourself my wife." And she gets upset and he's confused, but she realizes that this entire time she's been angry and she didn't know why. She thought it was just, being unsettled or, him being out of town so much. But she was angry because she realized that she had been shrinking herself for much of her life. When she realized she could name something outside of this world, when she named that star as a kid and had all of that strength and power in her knowledge and then had it taken away, and ever since then, she's been shrinking herself. Even George, like, she thought he saw her, that she was a discoverer, that she was adventurous. She thought he saw that in her, because that was something that he had within himself. It attracted him to her. But the truth of the matter is he just stood by and watched her shrink herself even more, which is what men do, because it makes them, I feel like it's this fear that if women aren't small, if we aren't arm pieces or fixtures in their story, then they aren't the star of their story anymore. We are. Like, I don't get what that's about. Like, men kill me with that shit. Not all men, but just this whole idea of, you know, the patriarchy as a whole, that they try so hard to keep women out of power, as if we have a chance, we're going to topple them. And I'm like, so you must be aware that mostly we're smarter than. I'm never mind. I'm just gonna let it go. But she says she tried to tell him in so many ways that she was shrinking, and he sits there and he thinks about it, and then he admits that he did let her shrink herself so that he could feel safe, knowing that she was at home taking care of their family while he was out in the world. And see, that's the thing. She had to just be a fixture so he could feel safe. Why is that? Why is that? But he says to her, I see you, Hippolyta Freeman. I see you. And she says, I am Hippolyta, discoverer. And when she says that, she puts her hand out, he takes her hand, and then this magic transports them into Dee's comic, basically. They're in galactical space gardens, you know, discovering shit. And she is Iridia Blue, and George is himself, but definitely, you know, also there with her in this, you know, space-like place, discovering and being scientists, being full of who they are without her having to dumb herself down. And that's the thing, you guys. When you look at the whole setup, we're supposed to be two full human beings, to 100% of who we are, human beings coming together to be more together. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of the times, people expect for you to come as 50% and the other person to come as 50% so that y'all can create 100 together. And that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how it's supposed to be. That's bullshit. We're supposed to be who we are and then complement each other by coming together and fitting with being fully who we are. You know what I'm saying? So this put a lot on my mind, this show. This episode specifically just made me feel a way about my womanness and my blackness and my agency, and feeling like I can speak my life into existence. I can manifest or see myself the way I choose to see myself. And eventually my reality has no choice but to recognize the way I see myself, because my reality is based off of how I see things. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing. People don't like when you talk about the universe because they think you're taking God out of it. That doesn't take God out of it. But what that means is things are working in your favor, and not just in the way of God answering a prayer to you, but in the way that the universe works together for one thing to happen to affect this, that domino effect. You know what I'm saying? And your mind, your thought process, how you think about yourself and the world around you can affect your reality. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is what this was trying to say. You know, we feel trapped, but that's only because they've convinced us that we are, not because we actually are trapped. And so eventually Hippolyta is just floating in space, alone by herself, and I Am comes back and says that she's ready. She doesn't need the technology that they put into her wrist now. She can live and come into society with I Am and the rest of the elevated beings. And she's like, how can I take all that I've learned back there? Like, coming back to America in the fucking 50s in Jim Crow. Like, nobody wants to do that. Nobody wanted Hippolyta to come back, but Dee is here. Dee is in 1950s America with a daddy already dead, a mother that is missing, and a best friend that was brutalized. Dee needs Hippolyta. So Hippolyta has to figure out a way to be all that she is in 1950 in America for Dee. And put that into perspective. That even though I don't know how realistic that is, the truth of the matter is that little girl needed her, and that was more important than all of the advancement in life that she could have experienced. All the knowledge that she now had of all of these different things that she didn't even know was real or could fathom, even as smart as she was. And the main thing that became important at the end of all of that was Dee. Y'all, that shit is crazy, the way they put this together. So y'all, Tick comes back through the portal. We didn't realize this at first, but Tick got sucked through the portal as well. He comes back with a Lovecraft Country book. He sees that Hippolyta isn't there, and he takes the key out of the machine and runs away, leaving Dee's comic under the cop's dead body, y'all. I was just like, ooh, somebody gonna find Dee's comic, and they gonna be, you know, running to see where Hippolyta and Dee and Tick and all of them are, for sure. I mean, we know these cops must be connected to Lancaster and them and the rest of the Sons of Adam. Like, we know that this is all connected. But, damn, why y'all had to leave evidence? Like, y'all got to be checking and shit next time. I'd have threw that dead body in the portal. What was y'all thinking about? That would have been the first thing I did. As soon as that first one disappeared, help me get this dead body into the portal. Okay? Shit, don't leave no evidence. But yes, y'all, let's move on to episode 8. So episode 8 starts out with everybody, and I mean everybody, attending Bobo, Dee's best friend, Emmett Till's funeral. And y'all know historically, Emmett Till's funeral is a big deal, not just because he's the, you know, brutalized kid, you know, of some grown-ass white men, but also because his mother, even though his body looked terrible, she chose to have an open casket wake for her son so that people could see what those men had done to her son. And to me, this is one of the biggest things that contributed to the civil rights movement, was the publication and the publicizing of the brutality that Black people faced. And it's so funny because I feel like at one point, this brutality was used to aid in our advancement. But in 2021, it is used to further traumatize us. I don't need to see Black people being murdered on the news 12 times in an hour the way y'all do it. I feel like it's crazy to me how even the things we use to help us can then be used against us. Is it just me that noticed that? But anyway, you know. So it's Emmett Till's funeral, and everybody is standing in line to view his body, and it is the hottest day of the damn year, and you can smell his body outside of the church. Everybody was so densely packed out there, y'all. I couldn't have done it. I probably would have passed out. Too damn hot, too many people, the smell. I don't know how they did it. And it's crazy to me because I feel like Black people were the ones that showed up in numbers, but we're not the ones that needed to see that. White people needed to see that shit. But the news outlets were there as well. And they had the Muslims there preaching outside, and then just regular news publications and things of that nature. And then the police circling, because whenever there are a lot of Black folks around, police are always there so that they can make sure that if anybody gets upset, they can beat the hell out of them and then put them in jail. Dee and Ruby are in line together, and Dee asks what the smell is. And Ruby says, it's the hottest day of the summer. And Dee says, it's him, isn't it? Yeah, it's him. Tick is worried about Letty because Tick also went into the future last episode and got that Lovecraft country book. So now he knows that Letty is pregnant. He's worried about her. Letty doesn't think they should have brought Dee to the funeral. But Tick says Uncle George would want her to be here for Bobo. It's her best friend. Montrose is there as well. And everybody's kind of in line together. But they're so busy arguing about her that they weren't even paying attention when she snuck off because she couldn't handle it anymore. This whole episode, we see the adults totally not paying attention to this child who should have been getting all of the attention. This is Dee's episode, but for some reason, the adults did not know it. So like I said, shit is volatile with this funeral happening. Black people are mad, as they should be. So Tick, Montrose, and Letty go looking for Dee. Dee finds herself outside of an ice cream parlor when two girls come out giggling, and she throws some rocks at their ass. Ain't nothing happy and giggly about today. Okay? Get your ass on. Then two police officers corner her in an alley and ask about her book because Officer Lancaster has the little copy of Dee's comic that was found under that dead police officer's body over there at the Winthrop Conservatory, okay, where the time machine or machine to the different worlds, whatever you want to call it, was, okay? But they asking about her book. They ask about Hippolyta. They make a comment about her name, talking about all these Negroes and their names and all these African names. And it's like, so you mad that that always killed me about white people, that you get so upset that we have names or in any way, shape, or form show up in the world as black people with African connections. Hippolyta's name is Greek, mind you. You're ignorant. But it's still like, one police officer stands behind her, kind of pushes his body up against her. That shit made me so upset, y'all. This scene made me so upset. He draws sigils on the ground because they're about to perform a spell on her to make sure that she doesn't tell anybody that she talked to them. Lancaster spits on her forehead and the other cop puts her in a headlock and she's saying she can't breathe. She can't breathe. And then Lancaster does a spell and they let her go. And that big ass wad of spit on her forehead, oh my God, y'all, this scene was so infuriating for so many different reasons, you guys. First of all, this is a little girl and y'all are two men pushing y'all bodies up against her in an alleyway. Y'all are white, y'all are racist, y'all are performing magic on her. I hate you people. I'm sorry, not everybody, but these two police officers. Okay, I'm being specific. Jesus, like it just made me so upset because I didn't know what they were gonna do to her. So it had me stressed out. So she gets back to Montrose's place and she tells him that she is tired of everybody lying to her. She pissed off too. She is just as mad because she doesn't know what Hippolyta is. Letty and Tick then came back. Nobody knows what her damn mama is. Her daddy dead. Her best friend just got brutalized. The city is on fire. I'm aggravated, okay? What the hell is going on? So she locks herself in the bathroom. Montrose tries to talk to her and says he knows how she feels. You know, how it feels to have white folks keep coming for you. Just keep coming for you in every way possible. And when you think about it, in her mind, they killed a friend. They killed a dad. You have to deal with the everyday of it. Like, it's a lot. And D is a kid. Montrose tells her, but when them white folks come for you, you give them something to fight for. Okay, you don't give it up easy. You fight to the death. I said, I know that's right. Then a copy of Uncle Tom's Cabin falls off the shelf and creeps everybody out. Because eventually we're going to see two figures that look exactly like the little black girl on the cover of Uncle Tom's Cabin. So Letty gets back to the boarding house looking for D when she sees Gia sitting in her living room looking for Tick. Yeah, that's right, Gia, all the way from Korea. Christina and Tick meet up in a cemetery and he asks her for help on how to do a spell to protect himself now that he knows what his future entails. And she gives him some magic tips, a protection sigil to draw when performing a spell. And then before he leaves, before they leave one another, Tick asks her about the autumnal, is that what it called? Yeah, autumnal equinox, which is the autumn equinox, y'all. Jesus Christ. And she says that she's going to achieve immortality on the equinox. He knows now that Christina has to kill him in order to perform the ritual that will give her immortality. Ruby goes to Williams crying after seeing Bobo. And some crazy ass white man asks if she's the maid while she's, trying to get her key to open the door. And she's like, no, I'm not the damn maid. And he walks up on her. Then what are you doing here? And William pulls up and he's like, is there a problem here? And he's talking to her. And the white guy is like, well, I'm just trying to make sure, that she's supposed to be around here. White boy just excuses himself. William takes her upstairs and bathes her. And when he tries to hunch her, she stops him because she doesn't want to hunch right now. She's distraught over seeing Bobo all messed up like that in that casket. So she drinks the potion, turns into the white woman, and has sex with him like that. And I love this scene because we got to see her change slowly. I feel like this whole time we hadn't seen her change into the white woman. And so we get to see her eyes changing. And then like the vitiligo thing, happening where the skin tone starts to change in pieces, until she turns around and then we see her and William having sex. Her as the white woman and William having sex, okay? And I don't know how long the potion was supposed to last or how long they've been hunching. But she riding that thing, and William flips her over as she's starting to rip, the skin is starting to rip off her body, and she's turning back into Ruby. Y'all, it was a sight to see. It was a sight to see, Lord. Do you hear me? When everyone is cleaned up and back to themselves, Ruby confronts Christina about her lack of empathy. And basically, Ruby feels guilty because, yeah, you should be over there in the side with your people, but you over here on the north side turning into a white woman, fucking on a white boy that's really a white girl. And you feel guilty about that. So you want Christina to feel some type of way. But Christina, in her white woman privilege, does not feel anything. She doesn't care about Emmett Till. She doesn't care about the 2 white men that'll get her, or however many white men it was, will get away with killing him. She doesn't care about any of that. She says that Ruby took that potion because she wanted what she wanted. Meaning, don't try to put some deep, profound feeling behind it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you know why I did what I did? Because I didn't want to be a black woman fucking a white man today. No, sis. That's not why you did it, okay? You did it because you wanted to be the white girl. Because you wanted to escape from being black. Escape from the pain of what it feels like being tied to this universal historical trauma that we all have. Tick gets back to the boarding house and finds Letty and Gia sitting at the dining room table. The 2 women that he's been in love with in his life sitting at the dining room table, looking at each other, looking at him. She explains who she is, a succubus, a 9-tailed fox demon, okay? It's in Korean literature. That's why I didn't know much about it. I apologize, okay? She explains that when she has sex, she can see a man's whole life, okay? Tentacles, tails, bitch, it doesn't matter. It creeped me the hell out, okay? But she explains that she saw Tick die. He wants to know how. He wants to know, and it's like, you read the book. You know what's gonna happen. Why are you asking her like you don't already know, Tick? Like, Tick act like an asshole towards Gia because he was so uncomfortable knowing that his pregnant girlfriend is sitting right here with the woman that he just left in Korea after he smashed. She doesn't have an answer for exactly how he dies. So he like, if you don't have information, why are you here? And Letty answers the question for her and says, because she loves you. And then Letty gets up and storms away. And Tick tells Gia that what they had wasn't real and she need to get her ass on somewhere. It was very cruel and fucked up. Like, I was upset with Tick for talking to her like that. He runs behind Letty. Letty is pissed off because he never told her about his encounter with the succubus. What, bitch? Is that what you're upset about? Bullshit. I think you mad because you didn't have to come face to face with another woman that's in love with his ass. That's what I think. So now Tick is storming off, okay? He says he's going to perform a spell to protect himself. And he's doing this for them because he's already been to the future and knows what's supposed to happen to him. He knows he's supposed to die. So I think at this point he's in denial. He's angry because Gia told him from the jump. And now he's trying to figure out a way to fix it because he has a child on the way. We see D. D goes to get on the train. We don't know where D is going. But this is when we see the scary ass Jigaboo twins following her around. And they proceed to follow her with rather artistic showmanship. Okay? For the rest of the damn day. And she knows if they get close to her, they're going to kill her. And it was a few times that they got close with their nails growing out of their fingers and shit. D runs back to the boarding house. And Letty, who was supposed to be looking for D, is so consumed with what just happened with, Gia and Tick that she's not even worried about D anymore. Like, totally ignoring D as D tries to tell her what the hell is going on. Tells her just to go back in the house. She's got to go handle something. I'm like, hello, adults. The little girl is going through it and nobody gives a shit. What is going on? Topsy and Bopsy, okay, that's the twins, the Jigaboo twins' names, Topsy and Bopsy, okay, one's lighter, one's darker, they're both hella creepy, they're still chasing her around, and when she sees them, she tries to say something, but nothing comes out. So that's a part of the spell that Lancaster put on her. She can't say anything about what she's seeing when, as it pertains to the magic. Anything magical, she can't say nothing. Letty walks away, and then she finds her mom's car, so she knows something is amiss. Increasingly getting more angry. Tick and Montrose talk, you guys. And Montrose tells Tick that he never cheated on his mom, okay? They had an understanding, and he knew of a preacher who, you know, people had said was gay, and they came and took him up out the church, locked him in an asylum, and cut out half of his brain. So after he saw that, he knew he could not come out, and that he was going to choose life over a damn insane asylum, okay? Especially after everything that they went through in Tulsa and all of the death that he saw. He was always going to choose life. He was always going to fight. That's Montrose. Tick tells Montrose that he went to the future too, and he saw his son, George Freeman II, who wrote the Lovecraft Country book. And he read it. So he knows that Christina has a plan to kill him to become immortal, and he has to live for his son. So he asked Montrose what to do. Montrose says, you know, I always thought I'd die at the end of some white man's gun or rope, but dying by magic, that's so much more jazz. And he says, I'll do whatever I got to do to protect my son and my grandson, even if that means I go out trying. That was all love, y'all. That was all love, y'all. Tick was so touched. He be trying to act like he ain't touched. He be trying to act horrid. Shout out to Roxanne. But no, he felt that shit. Letty goes to church to meet with Christina and to pray about this shit show of a situation. Christina comes in and says that, you know, God is both good and evil, and she didn't see Letty as the praying type. Letty summoned her to give her Titus's pages in exchange for making Atticus immortal. Christina can't do that because if Atticus is immortal, then he can't die, so she can become immortal. She says that she won't do it for Tick, but she'll give Letty a protection spell. At first, Letty was going to pass it up, but Letty's pregnant, and any protection for her is protection for her baby. So she gives her the pages, and Christina does a spell on her, and it's a protection spell, and it also heals. Dee goes around to the police station. Topsy and Bopsy are heel-toeing after her ass, and she waits for Lancaster. Then she follows him. I said, what's she gonna do? Lancaster is at his office with another police officer talking about how they're going to handle Letty ticking them. Dee busts in and asks if her mama is dead and asks what he did to her with his spit. He says that he will save her if she brings him the Ori. You know, do you know what an Ori is? Yeah, I know what an Ori is, bitch. You know what I'm saying? The energy is like that. She spits on him, corrects the asshole over there, and tells him that her mama's name is Hippolyta and that it's Greek asshole, okay? And then she tells Lancaster, fuck him. And then she rides her bike towards the creepy ass Topsy and Bopsy twins screaming because she's had it up to here. Lancaster's little minion was about to run after her, but Lancaster was like, she's as good as dead anyway. Don't worry about it. Montrose and Tick tried to perform this spell. At first, they thought that it didn't work. Also, Tick found out that Montrose is dyslexic. Just keep finding out all of these little isms about his paw that he never knew before. But it just goes to show that Montrose was always trying to show his son that he was perfect, or just try to show his son he was so strong and impervious. And which is funny, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what he's trying to be, impervious. You damn writers. I see y'all. Then we see Christina, y'all. I guess because of Christina's conversation with Ruby, she thought it would behoove her to pay 2 white men to beat her and string her up and throw her into the water and shoot her like they did Emmett Till. They did a lot worse to Emmett Till as well. We won't get into it. Obviously, this is the Cliff Notes version to what they did to him as far as we're concerned. But she did a spell on herself, which means she won't actually die. And I was like, so why are you not immortal when you do spells on yourself and somebody can kill you and you don't die? What are we exactly trying to accomplish here? I'm confused. I'm sure someone will explain it down in the comments for me. But what I will say is the fact that you know that you're not going to actually die and there's no fear in that, it takes a lot of the anguish away from this situation. Yeah, it physically hurts, but Christina is already somebody that's mentally strong. So I feel like this physical pain ain't shit, especially if she knows she's going to wake up after they finish beating her, shooting her, and then stringing her around the neck and throwing her into some damn water. But I guess she did this so that she would be able to understand how it felt for Ruby. And I guess this was like some semblance of her showing affection for Ruby, but at the same time proving to herself that she really is immortal and can go through exactly what that young boy went through and still live to tell the story. But that's white people for you, boy. I was like, why is she laughing? You know, once she came up out the water and she was alive after they killed her and she was laughing and shit, I was like, so do you feel like triumphant? What's happening in this moment, Christina? I'm confused. You can't trust her. Letty feels bad for not taking pictures of Bobo's body, but Ruby tells her that doing what was best for her in that moment was a different type of brave because they're down in her dark room, right? And then she tells Ruby that she's pregnant. Ruby tells her that she shouldn't have followed Tick's ass to Artem in the first place. And she was like, how you know about that? She was like, oh yeah, I know all about magic and how George really died, okay? And I know Christina / William, who I've been fucking. I know about magic, okay? So Letty is completely taken aback, but I'm glad it's all out there on the table because they've been lying to each other for the past couple of episodes, okay? While all being involved in the same shit. And I feel like that's like another kind of like a small picture of a bigger story about how Black people, you know, are pitted against each other in our community. And it actually does nothing but make sure that the white person trying to fuck all of us, you know, accomplishes their goal. So then in the middle of this conversation, the police surround the house. And Lancaster comes knocking on the door with a warrant saying that there are some Muslims there meeting up. Child, oh my God, the racism, you guys. So they bust into the house, but only one of the officers can go in because he's a regular person. He's not of magic. They have sigils on the doors. So Lancaster and his homeboy couldn't come in. So once the cop comes in and he doesn't see anybody, he walks back out. So the cops leave. We think it's over and they start shooting into her house. They've done this in real life many times. A lot of the things that they used during Lovecraft Country as examples of racism were actual stories told by Black people. Things that actually happened. And I'm more than sure this happened all over the place several different times throughout the decades of white people showing up in police uniform and shooting into somebody Black's house for no other reason other than the fact that they can. So while this is happening, Dee is in the travel agency waiting on Topsy and Bopsy, okay? And we saw her drawing something, but I wasn't exactly sure what it was. But Topsy and Bopsy show up, okay? She got like a steel pipe or something like that to beat their asses off with, and she was winning. But Montrose comes in. Montrose can't see Topsy and Bopsy. All he can see is Dee swinging at space. So he grabs her, and when he grabs her and takes the pipe out of her hand, wherever it was, Topsy and Bopsy get a hold of her, bite into her arm. The other one is having a temper tantrum because she can't get to her, but the other Bopsy twin is biting into Dee's arm. We don't know what's gonna happen here, but we know it's not good. Letty realizes that she's under a protection spell as all of the bullets are bouncing off of her. And Tick walks up to the house from around the corner and sees the cops shooting into the house. And the cops see him and then they turn all of their guns on him. Letty looks out the window and sees him and tries to run to get in front of him to protect him because nobody knows that he has a protection spell. But the cop, who seemed to just get upset by Tick standing there, shoots at him for no reason. And the big ass vampire puppy pops up out of the ground and eats and chops up all of the police officers and wreaks havoc. There's blood all over the place. Letty comes running out. Tick and her get blood all over them when the vampire puppy starts eating everybody up. It was a beautiful moment. You guys, white people make you so mad in Lovecraft Country. When you see them get eaten by vampire puppies, especially Lancaster's bitch ass, it's just a gratifying moment. Oh my God, when one of them got slung across the yard, you guys, the one that shot at Tick, he was the first one that he bit down on, and it was just such a gratifying moment to watch. Oh my God. So I guess the protection spell did work. It just worked differently. Okay, shit is bouncing off of Letty, but Tick has a vampire puppy to save him. So everybody's protected around this bitch. Where you gonna run to, Cinnamon? Where you gonna run to, Cinnamon? Where you gonna run to? Y'all, I love this show. I love this show. Okay? But anyway, y'all, that was episode 7 and 8. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed reviewing it. I hope y'all enjoyed the review, and I hope you guys will come back for episodes 9 and 10 next week. So I love y'all, and